For centuries, the smartest people on Earth believed they knew everything. They looked at the ancient myths, the sailors' tales, and the peasants' superstitions, and they laughed. They dismissed them as nonsense, as fan fiction, as simple drunkenness. But history has a funny way of making fools out of those who think they know everything. This is the countdown of 8 historical myths that were finally proven real. Get ready to question everything you thought you knew. Imagine living in a world where gorillas are as real as unicorns. For thousands of years, African tribes described giant, hairy man-beasts in the forest. And for thousands of years, Europeans responded by laughing and calling it primitive superstition. It took a doctor named Thomas Savage getting his hands on a massive skull in 1847 to finally say, "Hold up." And it took until 1902 for a German captain to prove that the more elusive mountain gorillas were also real. Picture this: medieval England. You're in church, minding your own business, when a glowing ball of light floats through the wall. For centuries, these orbs were filed under mass hysteria. But in the 17th century, a church in Devon got a visit. It left actual damage and a smell like Satan's breakfast. Modern scientists finally captured these plasma formations on camera. They are rare, they can hover, and yes, they really can pass through walls. The crazy people were right all along. For centuries, the Hittites were the Bigfoot of ancient history. The Bible mentioned them as a massive empire that could go toe-to-toe with Egypt, but historians basically dismissed it as fiction. Then, 1906 rolls around. A German archaeologist named Hugo Winkler digs in Turkey and finds 10,000 clay tablets. This wasn't a grocery list. It was the Hittite Empire's entire Google Drive, proving they were the ancient world's 3rd superpower. They went from Bible fanfiction to getting their own HBO special in the history books. If you were a sailor in the 1800s, telling people about a wave taller than a castle, they'd look at you like you'd been drinking seawater. Scientists with their fancy equations said these liquid mountains were impossible. Waves had limits. Then, January 1st, 1995 happened. At the Dropner oil platform off Norway, laser equipment recorded something that simply shouldn't exist: an 84-foot monster wave. This wasn't a sailor's exaggeration. This was recorded by equipment that can't lie. Now, scientists think these ship-eating monsters are everywhere. Historians treated the Norse sagas like your uncle's fishing stories. A great tale, but completely made up. The Vinland sagas talked about Vikings crossing the Atlantic and setting up shop in North America. Fantasy, right? Wrong. In the 1960s, a couple found something in Newfoundland, an entire Viking settlement called Lans aux Meadows. They found tools, workshops, and most tellingly, butternuts. Butternuts don't grow in Newfoundland. These Vikings weren't just camping. They were road tripping deep into America. Imagine telling an 18th century scientist that rocks fall from the sky. They'd check if you'd been hitting the tavern too hard. The smart people were convinced the heavens were perfect and unchanging. When villagers brought actual meteorites as proof, scientists found an excuse. A volcano threw it, or a strong wind picked it up. Then, 1803 happened in Lille, France. Thousands of burning rocks rained down. The entire town saw it. Actual space rocks you could pick up. The smartest minds in Europe had spent generations laughing at people who were accidentally doing astronomy. For thousands of years, everyone thought the Amazons were just some ancient Greek dude's fantasy. Warrior women who could fight as well as men? Yeah, right. Archaeologists digging near the Black Sea hit the jackpot. Female skeletons buried with weapons, hundreds of them. Their bones told violent stories, healed arrow wounds, sword cuts, broken bones. Up to 40% of all warrior graves in some areas belonged to women. They were an entire culture of female fighters, buried with full honors. They were so real, the Greeks changed their art when they met them. For thousands of years, Troy was the ancient world's Hogwarts, a magical city from Homer's bedtime stories that absolutely, 100% did not exist. Enter Heinrich Schliemann, a rich German businessman with more money than sense. He showed up in Turkey with a shovel and a dog-eared copy of Homer's Iliad. Everyone thought he was crazy, and then he hit gold. He didn't just find Troy. He found 9 Troys, stacked on top of each other. The walls were massive. So the Trojan War might have been less about Helen's pretty face and more about money. Troy controlled the entrance to the Black Sea, the world's most profitable toll booth. That's all for today. Think about that. Everything on this list was once dismissed, mocked, and laughed at, simply because it didn't fit the established view. What other myths do you think will be proven true in our lifetime? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.